the thing that drives all of conditioning, the thing that drives all of our suboptimal behavior, conflict and war and violence and all manner of neglect and abuse that we perpetrate on ourselves and each other, has its root in a creature in distress. Now, once we have, in a way, discovered and mastered who we are, the creature of the body can be in great distress, and we are not confused. There's just a sense of creature and a sense of wide open love and clarity. And, one of the models of this is the metaphor of Jesus being nailed to the cross. And in this great physical distress for the creature of his body, he is moving from love. Forgive them, Father, they know not what they do. He's not in conflict. He's digesting the experience of the bodily discomfort and pain and staying right in that place he called I and my Father are one. Just poof. But when we haven't had a chance to discover that and know that, largely the relationship to light and to creature is unconscious. And we walk around unconscious of how deeply in distress the creature is. And thus we bite. We live out of disturbed creature when that's activated. And for some of us, we have activation most of the time. We wake up in some level of suffering or some level of fear, some level of insecurity. So to me, the restoring of these simple relationship of consciousness to breath, consciousness to ground, consciousness to touch, consciousness to the healing, feeding, nourishing energies of this place, of this earth, from the vibrations of the earth, the vibrations of trees, the simple vibration of breath, that kind of airborne song that we don't hear or feel when we are, our instrument is shut down, gunked up. I think it's in AA where they say something about, make sure you're fed and rested, because if you're not, you're more likely to act out of your addiction. And addiction is nothing more than a distressed creature looking for comfort, looking for something to soothe it. And we have lots of weird, maladaptive ways of soothing the creature that have come from not knowing what to do with the level of overwhelm, pain, stress. And some of us can spend our lives basically just perfecting our comforting package. Whole lives in the US of A are just about perfecting our comforting package. And because there is nothing so unnerving and suffering producing as separation, we have voracious, hungry ghosts with much more than they need, still wildly working on their comfort package. I just can't get comfortable with this self-hate at the pit of my system. I just can't have enough goodies, enough adulation, enough power, enough control to soothe myself. And it just so happens that though the creature, at the creature level, comfort is sort of like enlightenment for the creature. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's the best it can get. Like a warm, full belly, snuggle partners. Like when the comfort package is together, the creature's like, I'm there. This is nirvana, But we have a different component to us, a more angelic component in a certain way. And if we spend our lives simply perfecting our comfort package, we will miss the cup of human beingness, which is a wedding of angel and creature. And those two things sometimes diverge, comfort and holy will. And sometimes they merge, most of the time they merge in a delicious symphony of, no matter what is happening, love is singing sweet, energetic songs to the body. So if we are only focused on our comfort package, we will miss the main holy offering, holy possibility. I call it the cup that's handed to the human being upon birth, the cup of the possibility of the wedding of heaven and earth in a single instrument, which is in its fullness the image of those statues of the God and Goddess lovemaking. It is an experience of walking around in a bliss of union, which is, why we all come to things like this, right? Like, I heard about that. Can I have some of that? Can you, if I put my quarter in, will it come out the bottom of the candy machine? Ready-made, please. So I want to talk a little about the emotional level, because that, I feel, when I looked at, when I reflect on this and all of its confusions, and when I watch people come to this work and other work, that's mostly what we're trying to figure out. We're mostly trying to figure out these pesky emotions and all of the delusional beliefs that go with them. This is what freaks us out, confuses us. Beings who have had huge spiritual openings still get completely flummoxed by this level of things. And to try to find clarity in the middle of a hostile takeover of a delusional pattern is very difficult. Correct me if I'm wrong anytime, anyone. I usually use my own self as an example, since I am a human, and I assume that, most humans probably have a similar experience. I think most of us have studied in one way or another, come to understand that due to early conditioning and undigested globs of emotion that we didn't get to integrate, even just overwhelming experiences like the simple experience that is so kind of almost physical of my daughter falling off the top of the slide into the kind of weird gravel they had at this playground she grew up around. And, dirt and gravel and laying there, losing her breath. Your breath gets knocked out of you. She's little. And I watch her. I learned a tremendous amount from my child, just watching her inborn systems. She would first, upon impact, there'd be like this moment of stun. And then when the stun moved, there'd be this loud crying, like just going for it. And she wouldn't move. She'd have dirt in her mouth. She'd just lay face down in the gravel. She wasn't going for it. All of her attention on digesting what just happened, returning her body to a state of relaxation by moving the stun out, the shock out, the stress out, the pain out, meeting it, digesting it. And then after crying, there'd be this stillness. She would just lay in the dirt still. And she said once, "Mama, I cry till I'm empty, then I rest in the emptiness." Like a little wise being. Like, I didn't mess with this with her. I watched it. I would go over to her and I would put my hand on her back and just let her do her thing. It's like, oh, holy being, you are wiser than anything I know. And dang, if she didn't just digest the hell out of that thing, get up and go run up the slide again. Like, no problem, got it. And that spectacular digestion system that we have gets so messed with here. From the parent's terror, running up, lifting the child up off the ground, patting it with a terrified hand. "You're okay, you're okay, you're okay." Well, the kid knew they were okay with their face in the dirt doing their thing, but now they're a bit in wonderment. And now they're wondering, are you okay? And now they're wondering, is there something terrifying? Is there something horrible? Is there something so frightening about my natural inborn digestion process that I need to stop it, be hauled off the ground? Is there something frightening about the ground? Is there something of an enemy about dirt in the mouth? Is there something horrible about a slide? And when we watch or we reflect on, when I watch children and parents, and bless our hearts, we're doing the best we can with the technology we have, so shoot us, we're not perfect and we never will be. But when we watch the repetitive quantity of experiences we are not supported to digest and make sense of inside of our embodied systems, it's no wonder that we feel insecure, that we can't find the ground, that the world feels dangerous, that all we want to do is find ground and comfort. Can anyone blame us there? And this, for me, any of us who have been inside our own confusions trying to unfold them, it's like the best healers, the best chiropractors, the one who, had such a messed up back, no one could help them, so they figured it out themselves, Or the best healer is sometimes the one who had an illness and just through their own experimentation with what they ate, they figured something out and healed themselves, right? So our deepest wisdom comes from this kind of direct experience in the body of inching our way along something challenging and gleaning a kind of knowledge that wasn't dumped into our head but grew out of our embodied exploration. And life as an embodied spirit is all about this wedding of heaven and earth, this discovery in a felt way. The ancients called it gnosis, a kind of knowledge that comes from having lived something, known something. And it has so much to do with this capacity to digest and know, to go into something like falling off a slide, new experience, to go into something, whether heavenly or hellish, and bring our intelligence, our digestion, all of our systems in there with support sometimes, because we need support sometimes, to find out for ourselves, where am I in space? What just happened? Is ground trustworthy? Where did my steps up that ladder go wrong? What do I need to know about slides to not do that again, because that wasn't so fun, but sliding down the slide is. And that intelligence is just inborn in us. We are natural scientists, but not just scientists of the head, scientists of the complete system. Just experiencing and making sense of it and weaving it into a kind of a really grounded, embodied wisdom about here. And it turns out that these things aren't just physical. I don't know how to explain this. We'll see. I'm always asked to explain these things that have no explanation because they aren't mental at all. But there is something about knowing ground and knowing breath that builds a wisdom deeper than a wisdom of simply pure physicality. There's a way that our soul is learning. There's a way that the whole thing comes along and is one seamless learning, developing, unfolding thing. And so just like if you have an art, like playing the piano, and the very first, I was mentioning Sassy Little Squirrel yesterday, my little piano debut, boom, 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 and the fingers on the keys and the sounds they make. This is what we're doing when we come into the world, I remember giving my daughter a rattle too early because I was so excited. So excited about being a mom, and I had bought this rattle the night I found out I was pregnant with her from this little indigenous boy from Taos Pueblo, and I was so excited to give her her rattle. I gave it to her too early, and she was lying there, got the rattle in her hand, and she's like, "Douche, who did that to me?" Like, what? Douche. Oh. I was like, okay, bad mother. Not yet. But that's, you can see them. They are playing their piano, one note at a time, finding, and not just finding out physically or mentally, what's this? It's not with the head. It's a full, embodied discovery of the possibility. What's closed? What's open? And how does that inform my whole system about something deeply basic about being here? Well, I haven't never talked like this. I'm really excited about putting words to this. So when we are not allowed that process, and very few beings in this culture are allowed much of that process, we take on large swaths of undigested goo and make the best of it. We make the best sense we can of it. Slides are scary, stay away from slides. If we get near slides, we start to get a little freaked out. If we get near something that smells like a slide, we don't even know why, but now we're suddenly acting weird, etc. It's good to know about this because what we do with the content of the delusions that result from undigested experience is that we make conclusions about our essential value. If I am scared about slides, if fear arises about slides or people, if I can't find solid ground under my feet, I start to think of myself and be labeled by others as a broken one, a funny one. I start to be treated funny because people are looking for me to be solid and connected, and I'm over here afraid. And we don't have the technology necessarily in this culture as a common thing to recognize, oh, hello, beloved, you're just frightened. We now think that's about us. We're scary. People don't like us. And we're ping-ponging back and forth, looking for our ground in other beings who are equally as confused about this funny house that is filled with undigested monsters of a time that's over. And the complexity of it and the interweaving of it is like hell. It's a perfect hell. So we may just get bummed out about that. Sounds horrible. What hope is there? Forget it. And how many of us have been in that place, right? Forget it. You know? It's too hard. I can't find my way. I can't see out of this delusional forest where the harpies are screaming at me and I believe them. Because for as long as I've known life, people have been saying those things to me, and I'm saying them to myself now. I can't find what's real. Fortunately, the good news is all that crap is absolutely not real. We are utterly, deliciously, lovably, preciously divine gifts who've been absolutely brainwashed into thinking that we are suffering, sucky shit piles. What did you say? Yeah, there you go. Now, when we have an experience, when we sit and somehow we trip over the etheric part of ourselves, the pure spirit reality of ourselves, and we are flooded with that kind of simplicity, rest, clarity, love, whatever the flavor is. No wonder we start the spiritual search. And to me, the spiritual search is not something to be ridiculed. You know, you are that, whack, 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 stop searching. You know, how many people have gotten that? And it's like, well, that was helpful. Now I don't know what to do but sit here and quiver. Can't search, can't not search, can't do, can't not do. It's like all these neo-Advaita students are sitting on their couches like, better not be the doer. I love making fun of this stuff because there are actually lots of people stuck in pockets of confusion about this stuff. You know, like suffering and thinking it's useful. So I say anything. This is, to me, a really important part of, you know, like in our exchange when we first got here, right? One of the most important parts of staying the course is to be inspired. There is so much bad press about human beings, about what we are, about our potentials. There is such a dearth of beings living from love and truth so that we can actually see them in action. There are institutions, our culture, our customs. Most of them are these things that are formed around a crooked trunk, a trunk of lies about us, about life, about what's possible. And that din is loud. And so whatever it is, Joseph Campbell said something like, it's really important that you have a time for yourself where you sit in a room by yourself and you feed yourself with what's holy to you, even if it's Barry Manilow songs. And nobody else would ever think, some of you guys don't know who Barry Manilow is, I'm sorry for that. Maybe we could have a break, a little education. He's the guy that's saying, feelings. But to have a place in your life that is all your own, where you feed yourself what resonates in your heart. So vital. Because within conditioning, what happens is our attention simply gets fused on trying to get good. Trying to get the stuff that will make us good, trying to get the attention that will make us feel good, and then of course the comfort package. And we deeply neglect the essential dimension of what makes life worth living here, which is, we would call the heart, the soul, the spirit, the aspect of us that when connected to the main vein, spills joy and healing into our systems. So this is really, really vital. And, there's a lot of, people will say, in our John Wayne culture, we bring our John Wayne-ness right into our spirituality, and we find a teacher we like, or we find something we like, and then we decide we're probably being dependent. And that's really bad, and so we should go off in the woods by ourselves, and we go off in the woods by ourselves, and we suffer our asses off, right? There's no harm in finding dead poets, teachers, recordings, a certain song that makes your heart soar. It's as vital as vitamin D. Spirit vitamin, to be regularly dipping into what sweetens and opens the heart. And if you can't do it yourself, which many of us can't, I remember when I first found satsang, I was suffering my ass off in a dark night, and it was so dark, I used to be someone who was just kind of okay all of the time, short bursts of grief or this or that, with like lots of spikes of just unbidden joy. And then suddenly this thing hit, and I was just praying to have one moment of okayness. And I found satsang, and the energy would allow my body to soften, and I would open to something. And so I mainlined that until one day on my couch, I dropped my attention into my body, and satsang was inside me. And I was like, okay, thanks a lot. Thanks for the training wheels. So I just want to say there's no shame in that. In finding, if you find something that opens you, mainline it. I asked one of my teachers, who happened to be Adya, back in the days when, there were 20 people in a room and you could touch him. You could hug him, pet his bald head. I said, how does one use a teacher like you in the best way? And he said, take whatever opens in my presence and give your attention to it. Give your life to it. And so I just want to really say, no shame in finding, if you're like a little satsang addict and all you do is, listen to every teacher on your car stereo, go for it. Better to feed yourself with what resonates with your heart than feed yourself with the crap out there or the crap up there. And then of course, it's really vital that we then take it into our own experience, that we take it beyond just receptively, passively listening, and we start to experiment. We start to look inside our experience and question. So my favorite thing that I would do, because I was in hell, and whenever my attention would go up to my head, it was fused there, so basically I had 5 years of pretty nonstop hell. I started to explore in my own experience what else is here. ground, breath. What happens when my attention sinks out of that funny house into here? And then I would say, what is it that I know without a doubt? Nothing in my head. Nothing in my head. It's all removed from essential knowing. So in this moment, what is essential? Vibration. Sensation. Noticing, which is what we call awareness, this amazing, alert aspect of us that is receiving everything. And everything, as a matter of fact, is given. When I rest here, noticing, I am not creating all of these vibrations as a me. I did not build this house. I did not create you. As I rest back in noticing the world of vibration, visual, auditory, felt, all the senses, it all just laps into my lap. And it very much seems that the two rise as a single, seamless dance. They are dancing. Vibration is dancing for the witnessing of noticing. Look at me. And noticing says, oh yeah, look at you. And what happens if I take shelter there? What happens if I simply rest as this festival of noticing and noticed? So when we drop into that elemental level, I love to go there. I love to live there. I think it's just so funny when everyone gets in a big old dither about some or something that we made up, and we say, what's actually happening? Opting out of the delusional, whatever the heck. Is there anything to actually really be terrified about? Let me see. Bonk. Hi. So, the greatest delusion of all of the delusions that are created by our undigested emotion is that we are sealed off and separate, that we are, that it's all up to us and we must struggle and tread water and try to preempt the movement of the holy or we will die. That we essentially have to work hard to be connected. And then there are all kinds of other supporting delusional corollaries to that. And it's all a pile of horseshit. And it feels really, really real because it's what we were breastfed on, it's what we were nourished on, it's what we grew up inside of. And the whole of our culture just speaks it like an ongoing litany of propaganda. If I sit with someone who I know or I'm related to or something, and they find something to be worth getting hysterical over, and I'm not hysterical, I'm just there, not in judgment, not just there, suddenly I'm violating the principles of our unspoken, unconscious agreement here on the earth, which is, if I'm hysterical about something, you need to be too, or you don't care about me. Or you're ridiculing me for being hysterical about something and you're not. Everything that we are doing as a culture is all wound around each other's delusion, and we have all these agreements to keep quiet about it, to keep unconscious about it. It's really quite evil genius when you get a good look at it. And it's totally hilarious, except that we all take it seriously, so it's not so hilarious because it results in people being shot and things. Whole groups of people being targeted. Amazing, amazing how far we've taken the lies. And then again, not amazing. It's just what we've been fed on. So this is a major act of awesome rebellion, to turn away from that culturally sanctioned horseshit and say, what's actually really real? What's actually true? And the horseshit, by the way, is also installed in your head, so don't look there. And can I stay simple? When I feel hurt, can I watch the delusions play? And can I stay really simple in, I feel hurt? Instead of, I feel hurt, therefore I suck, therefore I'll never be loved, I've never been loved, everybody sucks, I think I have to go die. Can we just stay in, ow? So what I like to tell people is that when a delusion is up, it's a really good idea not to make decisions from there, not to have any serious conversations from there. You know that place where, it's 2 a.m. and your shit's stimulated about your partner and you're like, we've got to talk. And you're just like out for blood. You just want to rip the whole damn thing down, right? It has nothing to do with anything but a bee in your bonnet. But it can do damage, right? It can erode a bond to have those conversations with each other at 2 a.m. under the influence of delusion. So one of the most important things is, first off, to recognize that anything that says that you suck or someone else sucks, and I don't mean you suck at bowling, It's like some people actually really suck at bowling, okay? So we're not going to argue with that. We're not going to watch somebody sucking at bowling and lie to them and say, you're awesome, right? It's like, I love you, you're cool, you suck at bowling. So one of the most important things is to, at least theoretically, even if you do it from Jeannie says so, if you trust me so far, if you feel like, well, she's, she's 99 for 100 so far or something. Trust me when I say that whenever you are perceiving that you inherently suck, that you inherently are hateable, or that anyone else is, whenever you are perceiving that there is a bad guy, whenever you are perceiving that you are a victim, whenever you are perceiving that the earth sucks, that life sucks, you are under the influence of a delusion. And there's lots of corollaries I could add. And that is a time that's not a good foundation to base your life on or to base your decisions on. Because you're not in the realm of reality. And so anything that you do or say or decide from inside of that is going to be more of the same. It's going to be more limiting, more hurtful, more creating karma, more crap. The best thing to do with an active delusion is to take care of yourself, to shut up unless you say help, and to listen to the creature of the body and what it needs. Does it need to curl up? Does it need to cry? Does it need to shake? Is it afraid? Does it need to grab a friend's hand? Does it need to take a walk? To refuse to participate in delusion, because every time we participate in delusion, we basically fan the flames of it. We strengthen our collective belief in it, and we spill more harm into the environment. And bless our hearts, sometimes, we're under the influence of a delusion from like age 3 until, whatever. Just there are some parts of our delusional reality that we actually think are reality because they've been around so long. Life is suffering. And I mean the bad kind, Your feelings have an integrity. So when I say that's delusion, that does not mean stop feeling. So given what has been done to us, what we feel and what we believe is happening has an integrity. Because at some point that happened. And at some point, whatever happened produced these feelings, this particular delusion, We didn't get to digest it. So the kind of model of whack, whack, you're in delusion, get to clarity, here misses the fundamental, to me, a fundamental piece of this pathless path, which is that the way is love. Not just the destination. The actual way is love. To soften, to notice, to accept, to give room for. The only thing that I'm not so into giving room for is the rehearsal of delusional, nasty patterns of reality. When that happens, it's like, nope. There is no use in rehearsing that stuff on yourself, on anyone else, or staying for anyone rehearsing that on you. We've had enough of that. As soon as we get activated, as best we can, as soon as we can, because the activation basically feeds off of the conclusion that our survival is at stake. We can't stop to care for this. And so we have long, most of us, neglected that simple caring for this when it gets distressed. And because part of conditioning is to pull your attention off of this beautiful festival of being a seamless whole of space and sensation, creature and light, actually the state of our body we're often unconscious of. We actually don't even realize when we're in distress, and these patterns just run off of the distress in the body. And so one night, in one of my explorations, I had one of those things running, where someone's done something to slight your good feeling about yourself. And so you go over it and over it and over it, trying to figure out, that's not true, you're bad, I'm not bad, you're bad. That thing that you can't sleep because something got uncovered in the presence of this person, or they accused you of something, and it just runs. And I tried an experiment. I sunk down below that thing and noticed, how's this doing? And, body tight, anxiety, upset. And so I started letting the creature do whatever it wanted to do. I started letting it stretch around and yawn around. It cried some. It moved around like a little slug in bed. I was in bed at the time. I let it do whatever it wanted to do till the body felt really good. And then I put my attention back on the circumstance, and the war was gone. I was like, cool. So here, the first sign, just like if there were a sailor in a crow's nest looking out at the, scanning the environment for whales or storms, but the first sign of a storm, to I like that, the Shakespeare, get thee to a nunnery. It's like, get thee to home base, get thee to the simplicity of what you can rely on. Ground, breath, coming to the aid of the creature. It just so happens that in this resting space, there is a deep, powerful force of healing, of love, of a kind of a rhythm and a kind of a movement that is independent of our minds, of our fear. And just the act of opting out for a moment and resting into that breaks the grip of the survival pattern that we're inside of when we're inside of those delusional things. To actually notice, nothing's currently harming me. Even if somebody's in my environment with a red face and mean words, here's the ground, here's breath, there's the door, I can run out. Here's my blankie, here's my teddy, here's a drink of water. This is not urgent. It breaks the spell, because the spell of conditioned patterning runs off of your life is at stake. The focus narrows into, how can I be right in order to survive and win? So I think that was a lot, and I'll pause there. I probably could talk all day about this topic. It's my favorite topic because it's so funny. I think 99.9% of spiritual questions are emotional questions, are questions of emotion and delusion, and sorting through that. And it's tremendously useful to have that sorted through, because then we can find a clear way through it without sort of unwinding things instead of exacerbating and building things that are crazy.